Good evening, everyone. I know it is late, but it is morning time somewhere, right? It is evening somewhere else, right? So, wherever you are, I welcome you to my show, my podcast. Um, and so, I do say welcome. And for those of you who normally tune in, it has been a while, but some things has been happening. Um, and yeah, I'll just say that some things have been happening, some growing things, some growth there, okay? Some blessings, some unexpected blessings. And so that's kind of like what I want to talk about. So I'm not even going to be before you all long, but I did want to say that. I do also want you to know um, that I've already prayed. So I'm just going to dive into the message. And as you saw, the message is unexpected harvest. Um, I just remembered. Okay, so in a few minutes, I will be posting a video um, that inspired this message actually. So I spent a week with my mother and I was walking. And as I began to walk, I had a meeting. And so while I was on the phone meeting with this business, I began to look at the trees that are right across the street from my mother's house. And I noticed that there were grape seeds, not grape seeds, excuse me, a grapevine in the trees. And I began to wonder, where in the world would a grapevine come from? And it wasn't just the fact that it was in the trees, but it was clumps of grapes hanging off the vine. Um, and I was like, what in the world? Like, I've been here for years and have never seen grapes. And then the spirit reminded me that when me, my nephews, my cousins were children, we used to get grapes that were off of my grandfather's vine that my mother replanted in her yard. We got those grapes. We ate the grapes, but we spit the seeds out over there. And that those seeds, although we didn't plant them in the ground, we just spit them out on the ground, that those seeds eventually were submitted and submerged in the earth, became the vine, cultivated itself amongst what was already there, and now has grown upward uh, onto the trees and now has become plentiful. Um, and it wasn't just in one spot. It covered a good a good section of those trees. Um, and immediately I thought about how many times we have planted seeds, not realizing they were going to take root and grow. How many times have we poured into someone else's life only to get the return back to us in the future, not even realizing what we've done and how we have impacted their lives. And the other irony of it all is that so many people um, begin to talk about things this week on that very thing. And I said, y'all all in my message. I am scheduled to deliver tomorrow's message. So I will be going live again for that. But I did want to say that it when you plant a seed, whether you know it or not, it's going to flourish once it has hit fertile soil. Um, and sometimes the soil can be deadly. It could be something, it could be a situation where for other people it will not be prosperous, but because of who you are, it will become prosperous. That dry soil will become fertile. When people say, "Oh, nothing's going to grow here," we tried for years, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's going to work for you because of who you are. So you first got to know who you are, right? Which is why I like to reaffirm and confirm people, and letting them know who they are, because you are greater than what people will say about you. You are greater than what people can ever think about you. You are greater than your situation, but you have to first believe that. Um, because if you don't believe it, who else is going to believe it for you? Who else is going to pour into you when you're by yourself? Um, we have to write affirmations, because what affirmations do, it's that fertilizer that keeps you going. It especially when you're in a period of your life where you're quiet, where you have to be quiet, where it's at a period of your life when you need to separate yourself, because in separation, it's not meaning that you're necessarily cutting people off for good, which in that time period, don't get me wrong, you may have to cut people off for good, but what I'm saying is that during this time of separation, it's you're in your process, you're in your seedling process, because even seeds that we planted within eventually has to grow and come out. And earlier today, I listened to Michelle Williams' podcast. Um, and if you haven't, I know I've said it before, if you have not listened to her podcast, it is amazing. It's called Checking In with Michelle Williams. It is amazing. But she began to talk with several different ladies on today. Um, and it just all blessed me. Really. It just all blessed me. I forgot the two ladies, but the last one that I heard was with Kiara Sheard. And but each in this section of series, she began to talk about you know faith with the first lady, uh, out of the three, was talking about infertility and how that affected. The other began to talk about being diagnosed with a disability at a later age. And then, of course, Kier Sheard talked about her becoming engaged and the struggles of being single and wanting to live right with God, right? But all of them talked a little bit about faith, and how when you activate that faith, how things happen and change for you when you believe, even during your struggle. Um, but the main part is understanding that when you struggle, sometimes it's something in the struggle that you're supposed to get. So if you're in that process right now where you are a seed and you're beginning to break through your shell, yes, it is painful, but understand that there is something that you're learning, because because what you're going through is a seed that you planted in the past, right? And now, in order to get to your future, there is some things that have to fall off and break off. And so that's where the unexpected there we go, uh, comes from. You don't expect that these things are going to happen to you, but they happen to you anyway. And then what happens is you're just like, I was living my day just fine, and then all hell broke loose. um why what happened? What did I do? Um, it could be because you planted a seed a long time ago, and now it's getting to the point where you're starting to break through, or you're past the seedling stage and you are this vine that is starting to stretch and grow. And again, there is this thing called growing pains. And when you are stretching and growing, you can't fit in the same box that you used to, which means you got to go up a level. You got to remove yourself and go out and do things differently. You have to find yourself in a new space, because if you don't, you're going to feel cramped. You're going to feel stuck. You're going to start to suffocate. Um, Spiritually, sometimes physically, and most definitely mentally, because you're going to try to figure it out on your own. What is happening to me? I don't understand this place that I'm in. And I'm here to tell you right now, at this moment, if you're going through this, I promise you, you're going through some type of a growing pain. You're going through expansion because you planted some seeds a long time ago. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's you planted bad seeds. It means that it's pushing you in the direction of where you said you wanted to go. And I do want to share this because um, Michelle Williams, listen, she has a newfound respect for me. I've liked each member of Destiny's Child for their own works, but Michelle Williams, I'm trying to tell y'all, if y'all haven't paid attention to her, y'all need to pay attention to her, because the girl has a lot of wisdom and she does pour into people. Um, I'm going to start off with past, because she gave us when she was talking to Kiera, she mentioned that there was a definition of future and a definition of past, that we automatically say, oh well, we already know what this means. But there was one particular thing, and I said, you know what, that is the problem. Not the problem, that is the point that we miss in vocabulary words. Because when you look at vocabulary words, they often have so many different meanings, right? Um, and so we usually take the first 2 points and grab it and go. And sometimes we can't just grab and go the first thing, the first and second thing that we see. We have to keep going. And I'm in another message that I delivered, I remember saying, you don't always want, even in a business transaction, you don't always take the first deal just because it's the first deal. You wait on it, because you might get a better offer than that one deal. Um, and so hold on, let me look this up. I should have had it up, so forgive me, but I didn't. Um, and I do know she did say the Oxford Dictionary, so we're gonna go to the Oxford English Dictionary for this word, because I want y'all to hear this. Um, do, 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 do. Of course, it's not giving me what I want. But it's important for you all to understand this, and I really want you to get to hear what I got out of it, because it was the wording. I often tell people that it's not what you say, but sometimes it is how you say a thing and how you understand a thing. We often say that a lot of problems are communication problems, are English problems, right? And and this proves true with these two words. Here we go. It's asking me to log in. Okay, there we go. This should definitely give me what I'm looking for. end by time. Oof, okay. I did not think it would be this hard to look up the Oxford Dictionary online. Like, so many websites popped up. So forgive me for this time. But I do want you to think on looking words up, the basic words that we have that we think we know, um, that we've learned. We generally know what it means, but we need to do a deeper dive as to what it means. So I am going to say this though. Um, the word past is gone by in time, in times past. The time for discussion is past. Um, and it says gone by recently, just ended. So it's not just gone by in time, belonging to an earlier time, connected with the form of a verb used to express actions in the past, right? So again, if you've done something in the past, an action, um, just because you thought you got away with it doesn't mean that you got away with it, right? Because every action, every thought, every word that we release is a seed, and I need people to understand that. A lot of people, I've it also in the same space. I've randomly have been hearing a lot of messaging around witchcraft, and I spoke about that a few messages too, about how spells are nothing but words that people speak over you or speak in general. Um, a spell is the darker form of saying a prayer, of putting in a request or making a request known. Um, it is the darker and the expectations of that prayer, it or of that spell. Um, wait, what am I saying? The darker expectations of faith. There we go. Is the result of a spell. It's just like there's a light side of things and there's a dark side of things. If you want to put it in there, it's all the same, but it's in how you use it, right? It's not the point that you have a gun and that it's registered, but it's how you used your gun, right? Did you use your gun for protection or did you go out and just decide that you want to kill somebody, right? It's the same difference. You have one gun, you have one mouth, but how in one body and lived experience, but it is how you reacted, how you started things, how you advance things that will put you into the point of saying that this person did it for good, for the goodwill of men, or the thin line between doing it selfishly and doing it because you maliciously wanted to do things. And so, what you do is a seed. And again, I said, we did things as a child, and here I am, way past child age, and I'm seeing the results of seeds that were planted over a decade ago. So it doesn't matter when you planted the seed. Just know the seed has got to come to fruition. The seed has got to happen. Whether it was good or bad, it's got to happen, right? And not only is it going to happen, it's going to happen or you're going to notice that it happened when you least expected it. Like, you may not have an expectation, oh, you did that, but I did that years ago and I expected something to happen then, but it didn't happen then. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And that's what the lady that was talking about infertility was talking with Michelle Williams about. She said, she wrote a book. No, I don't have the title of the book. Go check out Michelle Williams. And I actually started her podcast from the beginning of when she first started up, and I'm working my way up to present time. I suggest you all do the same because there are some things that you can learn from her. Go check it out. But anyway, what she was saying is that she wrote a book and she wrote a letter to her future kids. And although she and her husband are going through fertility issues, she said, I'm expecting this thing to happen, right? So even in her infertility, there we go, she is expecting that to change. What you expect, what you hope for, and what you pray all contribute to how a seed will grow. And even though your expectations may say, oh, by next spring, this, and this is going to happen, just because it didn't happen during that time does not mean that it's not going to happen. Excuse me. It doesn't mean that you've been denied access, right? It just means that the seed is going to show itself. The product of the seed is going to show itself when it's time. And when it's time, and I'm going to use my video. When you see the video, if you haven't seen it already, when it's time, not only will you see how strong that seed has grown, but you're going to see how wide it covers. You're going to see how plentiful it has become, meeting past your expectations. It puts me into the mind of the scripture where it says God is going to bless you, and I'm paraphrasing, God is going to bless you beyond your expectations. You expected this much, and God gives you 3 trunk full of blessings. Like that type of blessings. And so I was like, oh wow. So yeah, like it's going to happen in the future. And so right now I'm looking up the word future because I love that definition. And I'm trying to find the exact definition that she had. And in fact, let me just go ahead and say some of it. So if future means the time that will come after the present or the events that will happen then. It also means what will happen to somebody or something at a later time. The possibility of being successful or surviving at a later time. Did I not just talk about that? It doesn't mean that it's denied. It just might happen at a later time. Goods or shares that are bought or agreed prices, but that will be delivered and paid for at a later time. The form of verb that expresses what will happen after the present. So I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't find the exact, but in past, she began to talk about how the past means words. It was like words spoken or thoughts that were thought of after your present, like during your present time, right? But in future, it meant thoughts and words spoken, or an event that happens after an event that words and thoughts were spoken or thought of, right? Meaning what you're thinking and what you're saying has got to come out of your mouth and transform into something in the future. And a prime example of that is how many times we say we're going to plan for a birthday party. We're going to plan for this event to happen, right? And we make those plans. And then based off of those plans, the event happens. Now, what happens during that future event may meet our expectations or it may not. But the important thing is that it happened, right? And so if you're starting an inaugural event and you say, that first year it wasn't what I expected, that's okay. It doesn't mean to give up. Keep going, because year two you're gonna learn something else, and you're gonna you learn something in year one that you can apply to year two, and you learn something in year two that you can apply to year three, and you learn something in year three that you can apply to year four, and so forth and so on until you get to I'll even say the seventh year. And by the seventh year, you have everything down to the T. You have everything that you dreamed and wanted. And because you've gone through the years, and I'll say on the smaller scale, on the seventh year, it blows up even more because you've had time to, one, build traction, two, perfect what was given to you, perfect the thought and the speech that you talked about earlier, the seeds that you planted, and three, people have had time to check it out and invest in, or see if they want to invest. And then they come and say, hey, I would like to make an investment. I would like to come be a speaker at your next event. Or their publicist might say, hey, do you mind this person speaking at your next event? And you allow that person to come in. And when the people that follow that person see, oh, this person's speaking at this event, they begin to get on the phone and talk about, hey, this person that I've been following is coming to a city near you. I want you to come because I want you to hear the greatness. And then that person comes expecting to hear the speaker, not realizing that they're going to get a whole experience that you thought about and dreamed about and spoke about 7 years ago in the past. So something that you thought of or and spoke about in the past that now came to fruition in the future, because what, it's all a seed, and it blows all expectations, yours, um, potential stakeholders, as we call them in the research world, and participants that help you, the people that help you bridge these things together, the people that help make your dream and your vision come to pass, will also be in a part of this unexpectancy. You all get a little piece of, I did not expect that to happen, but wow, look at the results. Think about how many businesses started, oh gosh, like in the early 1900s, and look at them now. Look at how technology has advanced from the 80s. I remember seeing a tarot on a computer with the little code and me hitting the arrows and enter. And that was before I was about to say a joystick. That was before a controller, a game controller, right? And then we advanced up with the little one button with the little controller. Like, I know I'm telling my age, but I'm telling you, like, just think back. I mean, Nintendo was it in the late 80s, early 90s. If you didn't have a Nintendo, man, you won't own it. But listen, now we talking about PS5s and Xbox 5s. And we've even to further that along, we've gone from landline telephones to now we have cellular phones that can basically do anything that we wanted to do. So, and it's like those were seeds, and the telephone, the telephone started out as a thought and a seed. We need to learn how to communicate with people far off so that so things can happen immediately, right? We want to. I don't need when there's an outbreak of some sort of disease. I don't need to send somebody something by a horse and mail carriage. I don't want to send pigeon mail to someone because by the time that person get it, I don't know what their response is. I don't know how we're going to move forward. So we need to develop a device that can help me connect immediately. And what the tap system, the wire tap systems, and then it advanced from the wire tap systems to what the switchboard. And I know there's some gaps, but I don't know too much, but I know some things, right? Um, so it went to the switchboard where somebody had to connect you to somebody else, and then it went to direct line services, and then it split off to now we can talk to multiple people on lines, and then it got to the point of, hey, well, while I'm traveling, it would be nice to have a phone that we can use on our travel system. So then we had the car phones that was this huge, and you you talk literally the phones was about maybe this big, maybe even bigger than this remote. And you talking on your car phone, and you had to plug it in through the cigarette lighter, and then the phones became smaller, and then the phones began to become more and more like miniature computers in your hand, to now that we have several different options that you can use. And I still know people that have Blackberries because they said, I want to continue to use my Blackberry. Baby, if you still got a Blackberry, it's time to update. But anyway, because, and I say that because now it you have to live in the future, right? Because it all started out as a thought, and look how that thought and that thing that that person spoke evolved. Not only did it not happen, but it exceeded the expectations of what the original phone should look like. And that person is dead and gone and don't see it, but we are here to experience it. So, whatever your seed is, whatever that thought is that's in your mind, whatever that thing that you have been talking about that's been coming out of your mouth, that thing that is in your heart space, go ahead and put it out there. Because you know what's going to happen? It's going to be over a decade. And you're going to sit back and you're going to be doing your own thing. And you're going to look and say, wait a minute. I said 15 years ago that I'm gonna get out of that duplex, and I said that I was going to live in a 2-story house with 5 bedrooms, 3-car garages, and a gate, and it's going to be gated, and and my house isn't going to be sitting right on top of somebody's else. Like we're gonna have our own standalone house. And I did say that at that time I should be bringing home at least 6 figures, at least, but I will accept more. And now I'm sitting in this space where I am making 5 figures right now. Uh, I just got offered a job where I will be making 6 figures. I was just contacted about a house that lives 15 minutes where I'm currently living. And they tell me that it has 5 bedrooms and 3-car garages. And it's in the price range that I want. Because I'm not going to, that deal isn't going to go through immediately. It's going to take some time. But by the time the deal comes through, I will be well advanced in this job where not only will I have the money, but I would have saved up that money too, so that when I come in, I don't I mean, I can give the person a check, but I can give it to them cash if I so be, because everything that I have is paid for, and I have everything that can be sought out. And like, if I wanted my little pleasures, I can do this thing. Um, wow, this is all happening right now, and I remember saying that 15 years ago. Wow. And sometimes it may look different. So it may look like, I'm just going to share this. I do want to go back to school to get my PhD, right? Um, I do want to advance my career. But one of the things that was holding me back from advancing is that I have to study GRE. But I started studying the GRE in 2020, and with hopes to take the exam in 2021. 2021, the beginning part of 2021, I lost my father, so I stopped studying it. Now I'm in the process of starting to study again, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, God, I need to, how will I pay for it? I have these loans that, that I need to pay for. Which means, but I have all these other bills, and I'm not able to pay my bills and do all of that, and be on schedule for when I would like to go to school. That's my reality, right? Then we get a president that says I'm about to have student loan forgiveness. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me, had I had gone to school 3 years ago, that I would have been scrambling and trying to figure things out on my own. But now you are setting me up with the debt that I do have can be paid for. But I have the expectations of, when I get into my doctorate program, I will have more than enough money to go ahead and pay off whatever I need to pay off, if I have to pay anything. Because who knows? I might be getting an award to go to school for free based off of the scholarships that I have with the people who want to bless me to make my dream of becoming a doctor happen. So I may not even have those loans. But right now, I'm looking at the fact that once I get these loans covered and taken care of, God, you setting me up. You held me back from moving forward back then because it would have been too soon. You protected me from things that I would have put myself into, to even more debt. But you protected me because you saw what will happen in the future once I get my degree, what things will happen. You knew the fruit of the labor that would come out of all of this. And you said, wait, it is not time. Um, Pastor Gay, for those of you who know him, y'all know. For those of you who don't, he's a mentor of mine. He used to tell us all the time that God doesn't answer us maybes. His is it's either is God will answer in yes, no, or wait. And in the wait, it's not a no. It's just that you have to wait until God sees, or not God, well, not until God sees fit, but you have to wait until the appointed time that God wants you to do that thing. You have to wait until God allows that seed to grow. Because if it grows too fast, it might have a short lifespan. But if it grows at the right appointed time, things begin to fall in place for you to do it. I've seen it happen over and over again. God will allow a door to open at the right appointed time, because as soon as you open that door, that opportunity is going to meet you at the door. And I'm sorry, I'm looking right now. Um I'm looking at mathematical equations, specifically like the what is it, the spot charts, when you're talking about the X and Y axis. And when you look upon the X axis and how the Y meets that axis, and when you see the point of interception, the point where the line curves up, the point change happens and curves down, or what have you, whatever your situation is, however you feel the curve needs to go up or down, whatever that blessing looks like for you, your point of interception may not happen at zero. Zero is when you first planted the ground. In fact, zero looks like a hole in the ground. It's not going to happen right then and there. It's not going to happen in the 1.1 axis. It may happen in the 6th year, in the 7th month axis, and bam, you have your blessing. You have that point of interception where things not only happen, but it becomes plentiful, and it blows your mind. It blows the mind around those who were around you, who knew you had been praying for this thing, who knew you had been believing in this thing. So don't think that the dream is over yet, no matter what the dream is, no matter what you said you wanted to put in place. And I began to actually talk to one of my guard sisters last weekend. We celebrated her 50th birthday. And we began to talk about her career. And she said, I switched my career at this age. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, and I said, hey, as long as it happened, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, or when you think it should happen. The most important thing is that it happened. But at the same time, you now have, I'm sure she's going to watch this later. But right now, you have the opportunity, you have the mindset, and not only the mindset, but you have the sight. You have the knowledge. There we go, of things that people who didn't experience the experiences you have. So whereas they may say, "Oh, well, we're just going to do X, Y, and Z," you come in with your expertise, your lived expertise, to say, "No, we can't do it that way, because we have to think about this, this, and this. We have to think about the timing. We have to think about the dates. We have to think about, what part of the country is this in? Are they going to have hurricanes during this season? Because if so, then the gross product is going to go down, because everybody's going to be too geared up to do this, and this, and not do what you're saying that should happen. You have a different eye than everybody else around you. I even see that with my job right now. And because I have a different eye, I see things differently. Whereas somebody may see something as an opportunity. Somebody can see that as not as a good opportunity. They can see it as the doorway, the gateway of a rapid decline, because they've had this lived experience, and they know what works and what will not work. They know the ins and out of whatever that situation is. And because this idea looks good, it may not be the right one, or it may not be the right one at that time, right? Because as we're talking about seed time and harvest, we must understand that even when you plant something at the right time, it can start growing. It can start growing, and then something happens. And that doesn't mean that it's dead because something happens. It just means that that was the jump start of you seeing things and knowing the expectations of what it should look like. So then when it comes back for you to do that thing again, you not only know what to expect, but you know how to protect it now, right? You have a little bit more knowledge on how to make it and work with that seed. And so the next time when you plant that seed and you watch it grow, you see the difference and it grows even bigger. And then at that point, it does what it needs to do, right? So we have a lot of false starts. Okay, I'm hearing this loud and clear, and I have an example. I'm literally hearing this right now. That some of you have a lot of false starts, and because it was a false start, you just thought that that was the end all be all. No, you have to do it again, because what it taught you was some things that you had to put in place. It taught you what you needed to do the next time, for the next time that you do that thing. Whatever that project was, don't give up on it. Do it again. But this time you have a different eye. But this time you have to create a different plan, because you may have said, I'm going to go on XYZ street. But now this time I see that I don't need to go through XYZ street to get to A. I just need to go ahead and start off at A street that will connect with the B Street and then C Street. And then after C Street, I don't have to go to D Street because everything is in place from A, B, and C that will take me to M Street. And M Street is what? Money Street, okay? So anyway, I had to throw in a little joke. But anyway, know that it wasn't there to stop you. It was there to teach you what other things that you need to put in place. I had a meeting on Friday with a group, not Friday, Wednesday. And afterwards, I began to talk with the chairs, and I said, I love a good contingency plan. And if you don't know what a contingency plan is, it's basically insurance for your plan. It means that in the case of X, Y, and Z, I'm going to put this plan into place so that if it starts to fall, this plan is in place to make sure that it doesn't fall completely, but that it goes back into a sturdy position. Some of you need to write contingency plans for the plans that you're making, because a lot of people get out there and make plans but don't have a contingency plan. And when it falls, they fall hard. They fall so hard that it's shameful. They fall so hard that it discourages them and from picking up their beds and walking. No, pick up that bed again and walk. But just know that instead of trying to walk without the bed, you're going to use that bed as a crutch until your foot heals completely. And then you can, whenever your foot heals completely, you can get rid of the bed. So it just means that you have to do things differently. It means that you have to go back to the table and rethink it. It doesn't mean that your plan wasn't supposed to work. It doesn't mean that that business wasn't supposed to work. It doesn't mean that that connection that you tried to make wasn't going to work. It just means that it's not the right time. You have to go back and think, because maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the other person that needs to grow and mature a little bit more. And then the next time y'all see each other, then the bond that you wanted to happen can happen. Yes, I know I just went across the board, but I'm trying to prove a point here. It doesn't matter what the situation is. The situation is, just because it seems like a no now, it doesn't mean that it's a no indefinitely. It doesn't mean that every time you turn the corner it's going to be a no. It just means that it's a no right now, or if it's in the past, right? It means that there may be something in the past that you need to revisit, something that you gave up on in the past because it didn't work the first time. But baby, you a little bit more mature. Your pockets may be a little bit bigger than it was before. The people that you connected to might have a lot more connections to what you were trying to do than before, right? The people that you hung out with in high school, not granted, some of you may still be doing that, right? But for some, there was people that you was hanging around in high school that can't produce nothing. They couldn't produce nothing because all of y'all was in the same boat. Let's be honest. You all were in the same boat. But now that we have been 15 plus years out of high school and we have established ourselves and each of us are doing our own thing. We each have our own businesses. Now we can go back to that plan. You remember when we said in high school we were going to do X, Y, and Z? Let's revisit that plan now that we are adults and mature and we have some money. We actually have some investments that we can actually pour into each other. Let's now see what that will look like. And of course, it could be something starting off as fun, but then it develops to a real business, and then it starts bringing income. And then you're on the Fortune 500 magazine telling people your business plan that y'all made when y'all were kids that is now making multi-billionaires and bringing home income that you never expected because, again, it's an unexpected growth. It's an unexpected seed. You didn't think that seed could grow that way. Baby, you didn't know that that seed was going to become the biggest tree that you had ever seen. It was a small seed. I just threw it in the ground, added water and dirt, and forgot about it. And honestly, that's how we're supposed to do with all our faith things, really. We're supposed to plant the seed and forget about it. Forget about it in the sense of not worrying about it, not trying to make it grow, not trying to make it happen. But oh, I put it in the ground and God got the rest, right? You know, I don't have, there's nothing else for me to do. I did my part. Now, God, you got to do your part and make sure that the seed grow the way it's supposed to grow. And I'm going to leave and do what I do. And when by the time I come back and remember that seed that I planted, I come back, I shouldn't be looking at just dirt. I should be looking at a fruit bearing tree or fruit bearing vine, whatever. That's really how faith is supposed to work, is that we plant it and we let God do his work. We let God do his glory. Because I promise you, I was not expecting to see grapes, ripe grapes even. Now the actual vine that those grapes came from has nothing but green grapes. But those that were in the trees had green grapes and the red grapes, which means that that things started to ripen beyond the time that it was supposed to ripen. So your unexpected blessings can not only come and hit you when you least expect it, but it's going to be so rich that it's going to blow your mind because I didn't expect it to happen this way. I didn't expect this door to open. And not only did the door open, it came with extra benefits that I didn't even pray for. But because this benefit is attached to this door, it's got to come to me because this is my open door. This is my open season to take in the blessings of God that God has for me that is beyond my expectations. And in Deuteronomy 31:6, just to throw some scriptures out there to you, it says, the Lord your God will never leave you nor forsake you. So whatever that situation is, know that God didn't forget you. He wanted you to go on and get out his business. You know when you, if you were a parent and you bought a gift for your child or for your significant other, and you don't want them to see it, you be like, get out the room so I can do what I need to do. Like, you may not say that in front of their face, but you be like, just get out the room. Babe, you said something. No, I'm good. I love you. Yeah. Oh, you need to go out with your friend. Go ahead, go ahead. And as soon as they go and they peek out the window to make sure you go down the street, they take out the gift that they've been hiding for you, that they prepared just for you, and they wrap that thing up, and they got put that nice bow on it, and then you don't even know all of that happened until this time for you to open it. I know I said Christmas, but I'll just say until it's the time for you to open it. And when you open it, you're like, oh wow, like, babe, you knew I wanted this. But not only did you get what I want, you got the special edition. You got a little extra in it. You put this and this together for me, and then they say, pick it up and look what's underneath it. And then it's something else under there, something else that you didn't expect, right? And it's because you put the seed out there, you planted it in the ground, and you walked away from it. But God will never forsake you. God will always make sure that you get what you want, that you ask for. But again, you also got to tame those thoughts, because you can't plant that seed, that verbal seed, and kill it with your thoughts. Kill it with your mind and say, oh, that will never happen. Or I will never see it. This business will never get off the ground. These people will never invest in my business. Because that type of thinking will only have you doing actions where you self-sabotage the growth of your seed. And it's time for us to get up out of that. I don't care if there is a pandemic going on right now. I don't care if prices are high. You make an investment in yourself, because with you making that investment in yourself, it has to be, there's a return of assets that's going to happen just for you because you invested in yourself. Yes, you might have to bite the bullet now, but in the future, once that seed takes hold and grows, it's going to produce you with some things. Because remember, prices has got to go back down. Things have got to change. Things has got to level out. It's a continual process. That's why things happen over and over again on this earth. And it's because it's a new set of people that get a chance to experience. But history teaches us that if we lived, if we lived in a if excuse me, if the earth has gone through a process over and over again and it has been recorded, we that are in the future can look back from the past and say, oh, this will happen again, but we will bounce back, because it always bounces back. It always resets to new. It doesn't stay the same. And actually, another thing that happens is once it resets to new, there's new things that happen for us. There's new technologies, there's new ways of thinking, there's new products, there's new. There's always something new that comes out of something old. Why? Because it's a something called, I like that I would like to call the Phoenix syndrome. Baby, it can burn and it can die out, but it must be reborn again and rebirthed again into something new and better and greater than it was before. And if you listen to me and see me tomorrow, I'm going to say the same thing, the Phoenix syndrome. But then I also want you to know this scripture, and it's 1 John 5:14. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. So remember when I said you can't self-sabotage the seed. You can't go asking God for something and then 2 days later say, man, God ain't gonna answer that prayer. That was too far-fetched. Man, God ain't gonna do that. Like, I haven't seen nothing yet. It's only been 2 days, baby. God already knew what you was going to ask before you asked. He already set up the plan for you. He just wants you to walk through it. He wants you to take your mouth off of the seed. Take your negative, your stinking thinking, as my pastor says, take your stinking thinking off of the seed and allow God to help that seed grow with his stuff, his power. his abundance, right? Because God doesn't act outside of our will. He gave us all a free will. All he asks us to do, all his ask of us is to, if we're going to be faithful, if we're going to talk in faith, then once we put it out there in faith, we allow him to do the rest, which means we got to put our trust in him. And I'm not going to say further than that. You have to tune in tomorrow so you can understand why that is a key thing in faith, is give it to God and literally let it go. Literally let it go and let him do what he do. Because it not only grows us, but it helps build our relationship with him. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But know that you have to go to God and be confident that you know that God is going to do what he said he's going to do. Be confident that that seed is going to grow, no matter what that seed is. Again, relationship, business, future plans for your life. Know that it's going to happen. It may not happen during the time that you want to happen, but it's going to happen, right? Which means that, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z before I get too old to enjoy it, baby. That seed may not grow until you become 65. But who's to say that your 60s ain't gonna be better than whatever age you're at right now? Who's to say that? You looking with your right now mind. You see the situation right now, but everything might be better for you in the future. And God already knows your future. He already has your expected end. He has your end already planned out. But you got to go along with your faith, your hopes and goals and dreams, and make sure and just say, like, Lord, I really want these to happen, but I want them to happen in your will. Now, that's one thing that Michelle did say today, so I will give her credit. But I mean, we're supposed to do that anyway, right? But when you say, I want to make sure that my goals and dreams align with your will, that means that, Lord, I know if I got to wait 5 years down the road for this, that when it happens, that it's going to be good for me. And it's not only going to be good for me, but the doors are going to open where I don't have to do a whole lot of extra work, because it's going to happen the way it should be. You're going to allow those doors to open when they should open. And then another familiar scripture, Psalms 23. But we're going to focus on verse 4. And it reads, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Knowing that God will lead you in a situation, because again, once you plant that seed and you give it to God and let God do, baby, your situation can look like death. Like, baby, you could be physically going through, and I have several friends that have testimonies where they were knocking at death's door, but baby, at least that's what we used to say, right? They were knocking at death's door. No, baby, they was in the shadow of death. But because they held on to faith, God said, you know what? They are right here with me. They are allowing me to lead them. And now they're no longer in the valley of the shadow of death. They are now in the sunlight, baby. They are enjoying their healings. They look better than ever. And not only that, right after all of these things happen, they are now being prosperous, right? And prosperity can look like many things. It doesn't always have to be monetary blessings. But prosperous is being prosperous, right? And I have two friends. They're both in the same ministry, and I joked with one of them the other day, and I said, "Listen, I need to talk to y'all because and they both had similar issues. That's the thing that got me. They both had a similar issue, and right after that issue was, and I mean, when I say issue, living with this issue for years, and God turned around and got it to where they are now healed from this issue, and now they only have the memories of that issue. They can remember when they were in that shadow spot, and now they're living healthy And now God is blessing them with children. They're being prosperous in their lives. And so it doesn't matter what it looks like now, just because you're in the shadow, the valley of the shadow of death. Don't fear any evil. Don't fear any naysayer. Don't fear any broken plans. Don't fear any business things that fell through. That means that it is not meant for you to go that route. It's meant for you to go another route. You're just being rerouted to where you're supposed to go to. That's all. Because all what they say, all money ain't good money. You might have been trying to connect with somebody who was going to bring you down, or they were going to do something and they get exposed for doing that thing. But it not only brings them down, but it brings you down too, because you're connected with them. But if you don't connect with them, you can say, "Oh, I was about to do business with that person, and now that person is serving blank amount of years in jail. And now I'm steady rising. My capital is still rising. My business is steady rising. Good for you." So again, just because it's a no now, don't mean it's a no permanently. Just because it didn't happen now doesn't mean that it's not going to happen at all. It just means that it's you have to wait for the appointed time. And I'm going to end here because I really, 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 really about to get into my message, and I don't want to. I want y'all to tune in tomorrow. But I hope you all learned something tonight. I hope you get something that you can grasp onto and hold on to and talk with your family. Share this video with whoever you feel like needs to hear it. Um, I don't do this for me. Like I truly do this for you all because I'm just doing what I'm being told. I even when I first started, I was like, you want me to do what? Like, I don't know. Should I do this? Should I really do this? And then I've had so many people to tell me that they've watched, that they've gotten something from me. I've heard people come to tell me that lives have been changed, and that makes me happy because I'm just little old me. I'm just doing what I'm being told. I never, I used to plan the topics. I no longer do that. Um, and when I say plan it, of course I get it from God, right? But now I look for it in different ways. The ways I get my topics are different from back then. Like prime example, I was walking on the phone talking business and saw the grapes, and then this message instantly said "Broop," and I said, "Oh, so that's what I need to talk about, right? I need to talk about the excess, right, and the seeds. Oh, there is one thing I will mention. I almost forgot. Now, mind you, I said that these were grape seeds from my grandfather's grapevine, meaning that when my grandfather planted these, uh, the grape seeds, when he started his grapevine so many years ago, I'm sure he did not imagine that the seeds would one day travel to another location, that his offspring, that his lineage, that his legacies would take those same seeds and scatter them throughout the earth. And not only do these seeds scatter throughout the earth, they took hold and grew and emerged into something bigger and greater, to seeds that will grow upon pine trees and oak trees and crab apple trees and other trees in the forest, and become plentiful for the animals to eat, for those that that decide to move into this area at a later date to notice, oh, that's some grapes. These are grapes. These are edible. And they collect them and then they plant them somewhere else. We did not have that vision, but it goes to show that what you produce as your legacy will live on past you. Now, remember, I talked about that during the phone. I will say this: my grandfather has gone on, as they said, to glory years ago, over 20 years ago at this point. But his legacy and his gardening still lives on, and the same with my grandmother's plants. Um, our family carry the seeds, those same snap beans. Um, I said snap beans, snap peas, and black eyed peas, and corn seeds that they grew years ago when I was a kid. They took hold of those seeds and they got them and they replanted them over and over and over and over again, much like when we be fruitful and multiplying, whatever that seed is, you take that the seed that grew up and you take that seed to continue to plant in the ground over and over and over and over again, and it's very plentiful as the day that you planted it, right? So that's the other thing, is that you don't know where your legacy will go. Whatever your legacy is, you don't know the impact that your legacy will have to other people until years down the road. And I'm thinking about Madam C.J. Walker. She had her business, and look how that business has expanded. Look how many hair care products there are for Black women and men based off of her products. And even then, based off of and I'm basing this off of the movie that I saw, even she learned that from somebody else, from another Black woman, right? And that woman helped spark an idea to her. And she helped spark ideas in other people, right? And so again, it's that legacy that continues to go. So again, just because it's a no right now don't mean it's a no permanently. Because everything has a season. And when it opens, when that seed and that plant grows at the right time, the right people can take hold onto it and grab it and hold on to it and expand it. So you all have a blessed night. Again, I hope you all have learned something. Please share the videos. Be blessed. And until next time, I will see you later.